I'd like to welcome y'all to the formal dedication of the 475th Fighter Group's Historical Foundation Incorporated Museum.
Wow.
Lee is about 18 months behind what he wanted, where he wanted to be with this museum right now. But they got the frame up, and we got the airplane in here. And after this dedication, Lee's going to give you a little tour of showing how we're going to fix, how he's going to fix this place up. The delay was through no fault of his own. The Plains of Fame people had to put up a facility here, which is behind us, their jet facility, which you can look at a little bit later. And due to permit problems and a few other things, it slipped him about 18 months. And then the weather got him too. So unfortunately, what you're seeing is the frame and the airplane, and that's about it. I'll talk a little bit more, and he will too, about how the interior is going to look. First of all, I guess for posterity, I have to introduce myself. My name is Perry Dahl, Colonel of the United States Air Force, retired. I'm president of the foundation. I inherited it from our original founder, Pete Madison. I'll cover a little bit about Pete later. And in any event, this is a formal dedication, and for all you members of the 475th who are present here, this is your museum. As Pete used to say at all of our reunions, he said, he would say 100 times, this is your museum. He was the founder, all right, but through your dedication, through your contributions, and your help, and when we started out with a small piece of a museum here at Chino, which I'll talk about a little later, it's, you guys put it together. So it's your place, and Lee's going to make this the crown jewel of this whole establishment here. And wait till you hear some of his plans. Pete was a founder, like I said, some 30-odd years ago. He got together with a lot of his friends here in the California area, namely Hal Gray, Mooring, Jim Mooring, Paragoy, Ox, who isn't here, Ox and Fox. They're all out here. Like I said, he's still at the bar. Ox and Fox and all these people got together, and they decided to put a reunion together, and they finally got a hold of everybody, and they had their first reunion. They were going to run it every couple of years, and we had so much fun that we, ever since that time, the first one is at Riverside, and since that time, we've had it every year. Now, first of all, I'd like to introduce, you know all of these people. We've got some empty chairs, but nevertheless, in case you didn't know, these are our trustees. We don't do anything in our organization without notifying all these people. First of all, Bobby Dahl is the secretary. Ann Madison is a vice president. Lee Northrop, of course, is a vice president. Joe Forster is on the board, as is Howard Max. And these people contribute a lot, and we lean on them for many things, and they do put in a fair amount of effort to keep the foundation going. Well, after Pete Madison, he wasn't satisfied with just having our reunions. He called a bunch of us and asked for our memorabilia, and we sent it all out to him, and he started a little corner of a museum down here at Chino. And it was the first effort that he did. Then he acquired and he built a small museum, small Quonset hut that over at March Field. And what he did over there was he found Pete had a way of getting people to work, and he found a young man named Lee Northrop. Lee is the son-in-law of Paragoy, who was one of the 432nd pilots, and Pete and Lee made a hell of a team. Pete's enthusiasm just permeated Lee, and he caught fire with the thing. And Lee almost single-handedly grabbing people and everything, putting up that small museum over at March. And he built all the interior, and we're short on funds, but it was a neat little outfit, and it was all our own. And we had our memorabilia in there. But the problem over at March was a political thing, which I don't want to get into, but in any event, they didn't treat us too well over there. We couldn't afford to docent the place. We'd keep it open a couple of days a week if we were lucky, and we had to pay for that. So, make a long story short, Lee found out about the expansion program here at Chino. And the people here, Ed Malone, who's the founder of Chino, he gave us this ground, and we went out and gathered the funds. And we got the funds, and we put this place together. We had everybody in the 475th, and all of their friends, and some people who hardly knew us at all, sent everything in the way of funds, everything ranging from $50 to $20,000. We have several donors sitting in here who gave us $20,000. So we got where we could buy this building. And since we went to, on our last reunion out in Washington, D.C., Lee and I went to the Smithsonian, talked with the curators there and everything, and we got an awful lot of good ideas. And what this museum is going to be, not so much memorabilia, static stuff, which we will have, but he's going to have a lot of electronic displays, flat screen TVs, where you can go, and he'll talk a little bit more about this. But we had to needed additional funds for that, and we did go out, and everybody's responding. And we have enough money where this interior is going to be done in first class. So I want to thank you all for your donations, and he has a good year and a half left before this facility will be done. We have high hopes that we don't know where our next reunion is going to be. We'll be talking about that at our banquet. But we're thinking that maybe in 2 years we can come back out here. Maybe we'll go down to San Diego. We'll go in this area, and then the place will be finished, and so that you can look at it and really be proud. During this time, I found out, being a Seattle boy, I found out that up at the Seattle, the Museum of Flight was expanding up there. And I went up and talked to their curator. They're putting a $53 million wing they called the Wing of Courage. And the main floor was all going to be World War II airplanes. And they had the Champlin collection. And I found out about it, and got an appointment with the curators up there, and I called Lee and had him come up, bring some material, because everybody wanted to get into that new facility. And when we went into there, I found out later the curator said was planning to give us about 15 minutes and tell us thanks, but no thanks. But while I was in there talking to them, there were 3 of them that were developing the bottom of this Wing of Courage. And I was talking to him about the history of our unit and everything. And Pete started, Lee started unfolding some of the things we have with the Anderson collection, some of the pictures and some of the memorabilia that he brought up. And these guys who were going to give us 15 minutes, we stayed there during the lunch hour. They looked at this stuff that Lee brought up and kept opening up and looking and looking and looking. And before we were out of there, Lee had them hooked. And they wanted us to be there. And right today in the Museum of Flight, where 10,000 people go through that thing every year, we have sitting right over all of the other displays is our P-38 from the 433rd Squadron with Jack Purdy's pictures on him, the nose art and all the rest. And underneath it, we have a nice corner where we're showing DVDs, the history of our unit, and for the guys, we have Pete Madison's jacket there. We got a nice display there. Like I said, 10,000 people a year go through that thing. So here we have a nice little satellite museum up in Seattle. Well, not only that, but I was on the internet one day and I looked up and there somebody from Australia was in there and said, "Does anybody?" He asked, "Does anybody know a Lieutenant Dickey? We found an airplane in New Guinea, and we're thinking of restoring it and all this kind of stuff." And I answered. I said, "Yeah, I knew Dickey. We flew with him." Well, Margaret and Bob Jarrett, sitting right back there, I'm sure most of you met him, came to this dedication. They're the ones that pulled that airplane out. So Bobby and I, we're on a tour over, I wanted to go over to Vietnam again and look to where I was before, and while we were there, we took a little trip down to Australia, and we went out to Adelaide, and we were hosted by Bob and Margaret, and he has about a crew of about 53 guys working on the airplane, all volunteers, and they'd never seen a live P-38 pilot together, guy. I signed signatures, pictures with him, and it was just a marvelous experience. Of course, the Aussies love us just about as much as we love them. I don't have to tell you. Every time, both my tours in Vietnam, for example, there were Aussie units there fighting with us. Every place we've gone, you know. The Australians, I used to think Canadians were such good neighbors and everything, but you know, the Aussies are something else. And we really appreciate Bob and Margaret for coming to our dedication, and you'll know, talk to them a little bit more at our banquet. Okay, so incidentally, Bob has a nice museum that he's put together over in Adelaide, and right in the corner of it, he has a nice display of the 475th. We sent him a lot of stuff. Joe Forster sent him the airplane that they pulled together that's now finished, and you'll see a nice picture of it tonight. Joe Forster found the yoke was broken on the 153, the airplane that they got out of the jungle, but Joe found, of all things in Tampa, Florida, a brand new yoke for an H model that's still in the box. So Joe bought that thing and he shipped it over to him, and it's sitting in the airplane. And we sent them a lot of other memorabilia, and they have our tapes running over there. So we got now a little satellite, not only here, not only in Seattle, but also in Australia. So well, if you get a chance to get out there, he has a great facility. He just pulled a Airacobra out, and I know John Loisel would love to see that thing. John, I think, is the only one of us who actually flew the P-39 over there during combat, and he's still alive to talk about it. The only thing I think, you know, John told me about the 39. The only reason he didn't get shot down or shoot down any Zeros, he couldn't get up high enough to get to him. So the airplane. Pete Madison had a knack for getting everybody involved, and one of the persons he got involved was what we call our co-founder now, Bob Weary. And he got Bob Weary who was a very successful lawyer in Kansas, and he got Bob Weary to set up the foundation. The Weary family has donated in excess of $60,000 to us, but the way he put the organization together as a nonprofit organization, you know, that was priceless. So we're incorporated in the state of Kansas, and as a result of that, we're a nonprofit organization. So you can, you know, for the donations and all this, we couldn't be where we are unless Bob Weary had done that. So one of the things that they're going to do here is we're going to have back in the corner a little foundation, a founder's monument where Lee's going to put together the piece for those two gentlemen who we consider the founders. I wish Lee was here, because what we're going to do, what we had planned to do, was he was going to take you all the way around. Now, the reason we needed a lot of money at the end is because we don't want to have just a lot of memorabilia for people to come to look at. He's going to put in some flat screens, TVs. And when we get through here, I'm going to try to get this hangar open. And when you go through, you'll get some idea about how the sides of this are going to look. And what he's going to do is we'll have things behind there and for the memorabilia. But more importantly, we're going to have these screens, flatbed screens, where you can go. And as you know, Joe Gentz and Ken Weaver, who've been putting together all these DVDs. You know, they have each of you on tape. And if you aren't on tape, we want to be sure, please let me know, because they're here and they're set up to do that at the hotel. In any event, what they're going to have is these flat screens so you can go up, your grandkids can go up and they can look under, you know, and they say, oh, there's Granddaddy. And they punch that thing and up will come your DVD. And they'll be able to get that. Also, we'll have continuous running of all of our histories. And we will have, they're putting gun camera films on. And so the flat screen thing, and we got this idea in the Smithsonian, that's where they're laid out. And so we're going to have a lot of electronics in this building that you won't see anyplace else. So they will be able to get complete history of the 475th Fighter Group, which will include starting where it was founded over in Australia. It's the only unit ever originally started within its theater of operation. And 475th Fighter Group has no history other than being formed overseas. It has no peacetime history at all. We were formed over there and they ended over there in the Pacific and in Korea. Several of the guys, I think Marvin Rose and John Loisel, and maybe there's one or two others, were the only ones that are here that started in Adelaide, was it Townsville now? Where? Amberley Field, right, Amberley Field, and stayed with the unit on into Korea. Somebody tells me that Lee will be here in about 5 minutes, so I'm just keep talking. The unit, unless anybody wants to go to the bathroom, we don't have any out here anyway. So. We have high hopes that this place will be done, like I said, probably 18 months, maybe 2 years before we get it all taken care of. But you got to remember the legacy. Pete Madison started out interested in perpetuating the legacy of the 475th, and now we got something in Australia, we got something in Seattle, and we got something here. And we were talking with the curators at the Smithsonian, and we may have a little satellite out at Dulles of the 475th. Just between you and I, one of the problems is there's politics involved there like crazy, and Lee is very careful, giving these people our memorabilia and all the other stuff, unless they sign for it and going to return it. And the Smithsonian, if we give it to them, they want to keep it. And they want to keep it in their archives or show it whenever they want to. And so we may have some problems there, but maybe we'll have a little museum there too. Also, I've been talking with the people at Wright Patterson. They have a nice museum there, and they're interested in getting some stuff. So the first thing we're going to do is put all of our memorabilia and get everything here, and then when we get done, we may do something else. I'm meeting later in the month. I'm going to meet with somebody up at Napa, and it's the old Confederate Air Force. It's now called something else. Consolidated, I don't know what they're called. Anyway, they're putting a new museum up at Napa, and the gentleman's coming down, and we're going to meet him this evening. And he is interested in us putting some sort of a display in the museum at Napa. So the 475th is although we had no peacetime history, stateside we're going to have a lot of places, and we'll be exposed to a lot of people. So I guess I could dance or sing or whatever. I have some guests here from Tampa, and one of them, I think Dave, sent me a thing which is kind of interesting. I think everybody's seen this or heard about it. And it goes something like this. It says, by the ring around his eyeballs, you can tell a bombardier. You can tell a bomber pilot by the spread across his rear. And you can tell a navigator by his sextant maps and such. And you can tell a fighter pilot, but you can't tell him much. Dave gave me that, I think. And my guests, we are all in my church together. And I don't know, I've converted about half of my church with World War II historical buffs. Everybody's interested and they wanted to come out, and it's such a pleasure. And I think, I don't know, I think maybe there's about 30 or 40 475th people, and we got 130 people here, so that gives you an idea how many guests we have. And of course, we have people like Carol Gray's down here. Carol, you here? Yeah, Carol's down here, and we have several widows. Where's Earlene? Earlene's down here, yeah. So how great it is that we're able to get together and see each other. Teresa, oh yeah, Teresa Smizzano is here too, and so faithful all the time. She helps Bobby all the time at the. Yeah. Oh, let me tell you one other thing. Hoxie's. They found, if you can believe it, a field kitchen, World War II, that we had, that we used, and it was all getting ready to be shipped overseas, and they located this thing, and they bought it, and they donated it, and it's going to be set up right back here. And we're gonna take a look at this thing afterwards, but that thing is priceless, too. We're the only one that's going to have a World War II New Guinea field kitchen all set up and for people to look at. We're going to have there quite a display too with a flat screen television that stuff that we have in our archives showing us going through the mess. I don't know about you guys, I don't remember anything about the eating or the mess hall or anything over there, except that it's very unpleasant experiences, bully beef and stuff. But his dad was a head cook and bottle washer over there, and trying to put food together that was edible. And no disrespect to the Jarretts, but I mean that Aussie bully beef and that mutton that we were getting from Australia. I think you're sending it up there after the sheep wouldn't grow any more wool, so they killed the damn thing. They sent it up. Blood and Guts Summers and I, most of you guys know Summers, we were in a Jeep, and I think it was at Nadsab, and we saw this truck coming by, and it looked like it had halves of legs of beef, and they were all, frozen, but they were on the back of this truck, and they were bouncing around, and Blood and Guts and I said, God, look at that beef going there. And so it looked like one was about ready to fall off the back of the truck. So we followed that thing in the Jeep. Sure enough, one fell off the back of this truck. And Blood and Guts said, PJ, get over there. And he went over, and I scooped that dude up and threw it in the back of that Jeep, and we 23 skidooed out of there. And we got home, and everything, we gave it to the cook and everything, and he opened it up, and it was sheep. So, it wasn't just the bad thing about eating the sheep, but they cooked fried our eggs, our scrambled powdered eggs. They cooked that in the in sheep fat. You know what I mean? So, and when I got home, I wasn't married. Bobby and mother invited me out to dinner. Bobby found out that I told her I didn't want to see another piece of sheep. And she said, oh my God, she told her mom, she said, what do you got for dinner, Mom? And she said, Perry's coming in. She says, oh, I got a nice spring lamb. And she said, oh, God. Well, I went over there and I said, what's for dinner? And she says, oh, you got some nice veal here. And I ate it and it was great. So there's quite a bit of difference between a spring lamb and one of those sheep that Bob Jarrett's dad probably used to shear over there. When Bobby and I went over to Australia, we stayed, a lot of you pilots remember King's Cross. We went up, and that was really a beautiful part of town and everything. And we went back up there, and I think I saw somebody in the corner. I think it was John Loisel's madam. It's a red light district now. And I couldn't believe it. It was the best part of town when we were there. At least we thought so. Bobby and I stayed out at Bondi Beach with a bed and breakfast. And if you remember, we used to go to Bondi Beach. I didn't give a damn what time of year it was. Boy, we were in that surf swimming like crazy. It was the dead of summer over there, and the water's so damn cold. 80 years old, I wouldn't get in that water. I told Bobby that we used to swim there all the time, which we did. But, you know, at that age, it didn't make much difference in the temperature of the water. But let me tell you, you don't want to go over to Bondi Beach and swim now. It's too damn cold for us old guys. We're still waiting for Lee to come. Fox, you're supposed to be up here. Get your butt up here. You closed the bar okay, right? Yeah. Is Ox going to make it? Okay. All right. This is another trustee, and as you can see, he's very reliable. Yeah. There's one thing you can trust. He closed the bar last night. You can count on that. He's the last one there, and he's the first one. He opened up this morning, right? Yeah. How's the supply going? Yeah. We're killing a lot of time here. The Ox and Fox have been together for a long time, and they lived out here in the area along with Seymour Prell, Seymour's here. And all of these guys were on hand to help Pete put this thing together. And I get choked up every time I think about Pete. The only thing I dislike about Pete was his passing, giving me his damn job, you know. But he and I bonded pretty good, and I don't have to tell you how Pete was Lee's mentor. And between the two of them, they made a hell of a team. And they put this place together, and like I said, you've come a long way, baby, because you guys in the 475th, and Pete used to say this all the time, it's your museum. And it started out with that small thing they had here at Chino, over to March, and it's going to be this to-be magnificent facility. And I'm really, really upset and disappointed, as is Lee, that we're about 18 months behind in getting this thing ready for you to look at. But at least he got the frame up. And Lee had some health problems and slowed him down a little bit, but it was because of Chino having to put this building up and get the permits really is for the delay. But I guarantee you, you're really going to be proud of this facility when we get done. And it's through your generosity. Madison's, Pete, when he passed away, he didn't, his kin, Chris, Cindy, and Ann contributed to such an extent that we're going to be able to make this a first-class facility. And it was very expensive when we all went to Washington, D.C. and found out what we wanted to do in the way of electronics and flat-screen radars and videos and all these sorts of things. We knew how expensive it was going to be. And like I said, Chris Madison is very, he's running his dad's business, and he's, whenever we need him, he's there. And here comes Pete. Here comes Pete, yeah. I've got Pete in my mind. Here comes Lee.
I've been a little nervous. This is the first time the plane's been in the building because of all the construction and everything going around here. And of course, they've been keeping her down there. And you're always nervous about those wings coming in through those doors, but it fits. Looks really nice, huh? Well, part of our arrangement with the Planes of Fame that this plane stays in this building unless they're using it to fly or something. This is this plane's home, and it's now our home, and they go together. And of course, the nose art is going to be 475th nose art. We can change it whenever we want. Right now, they asked to put PJ Dahl's nose art on it because they knew PJ's a good speaker, and they've been using him all over the country. He went to Oshkosh and represented us and their museum. This plane, when the museum displays are built, will actually be very close to the openings of the doors. These doors, there'll be some special walkways here. They'll have them open, but not swing all the way open. But their idea is when they come out of the main entrance down here, and they look up this way, they'll see the P-38 sign that'll be above, I'm sorry, I gotta keep this mic here, that'll be above the door, and they'll see these two big propellers and spinners, and their P-38 is one of their featured planes here, so it draws the crowd this way. The building that you see over to the side, this is brand new construction here. And it's the building that kind of held us up from starting our building. They had to finish this building and be able to occupy it before we could start our building. This is what they call their jet hangar, and they keep all their jets and their antique racers in this building. I'm a little out of breath, so give me a chance here. A lot of people, Board of Trustees and everything, were out here 2 years ago when we decided to put this all together. And where you're sitting now was dirt. There wasn't any walls, there wasn't anything. And in that amount of time, they blacktopped from one end of their museum to the other. And you've seen the green grass out here, and it's just beautiful, and way beyond whatever we had out at March Field. And this is we could see what their plans were, and we wanted to be a part of this. And so they limited me in size of the building, or I would have made it a little longer, but we were stuck with 60 feet this way, but it still is going to work out just fine. We're going to have a sign on the back side of the building, so the main traffic that comes to their museum doesn't come the back way the way you came. They come on Euclid Avenue down Merrill. So the first thing that they see will be this building. And they're kind of excited about it. It's like a modern Quonset hut. It kind of represents World War II. And I think the whole package pulls together really nice. Now, if you get a chance to move around in their museum, you'll see one of their new hangars down there has a painted floor. It's an epoxy painted floor, a light tan color. We're going to do the same thing, but many more coats so that it shines up at you. One thing is it's a really class look, and the other thing about it, it reflects light. We have these skylights in here, and then it'll bounce down off this floor and bounce back up into our displays. And we'll rarely have to turn on these overhead power lights. Now, those overhead power lights were donated to us by Chris Madison Color Graphics. He sent them out here on a great big pallet, and there were 12 of them. And my son picked them up and started cleaning on them, and we took the 6 best ones, and we found out it's the same commercial light that the museum uses throughout the whole museum. So same light bulb, we fit right in. And we now have 6 more spares for the big museum, but they're not sodium vapor. I forget what it is. It's a real modern type of white light, so at nighttime, we flip the switch on over here on our breaker box, and away we go. We didn't have electricity when we were building this building to start with. This is a rather new addition. We had some temporary outlets here for construction, but you can see over here there's a generator and an air compressor. That's what we built the building with. We'd run this 5 kW generator, which would run the air compressor, and we used 3/8 ratchet wrenches. And I got to give a lot of credit to my son. He's in the back there, the big guy with the blue shirt on, standing next to Chris Madison. I got this little heart condition problem and everything, and I'm not allowed to go up on the equipment, and it was him and another guy, and sometimes my grandson during Christmas break. They're the ones who went up high and bolted this whole thing together. And there's over 14,000 bolts, individual bolts. On the outside, there, when you look at it, they have a, well, here's Harold Owen. Hello, Harold. Excuse me, but they have a neoprene, it's not neoprene, it's even a more modern rubber washer. So when you squeeze down on it, it seals the bolt. And one thing that I learned out at March Field, when we have our Santa Ana winds out here, it blows dust. And these buildings, though they won't leak water, the dust goes right into the seams and into the building. So we caulked this building with a little tiny caulking strip, and when you get close to looking at the skylights, you'll see this little 1/8" bead of caulking. And it came in a roll, and every panel is caulked so that we can keep the dust down. It's still a little dusty because I have to seal these doors and these doors, but we caulked this building, and we've had some good blows, and I came back in here, and it was very clean compared to the rest of the museum and what happens. I was hoping to get away from the dust problem by moving here because we have grass and lawn and everything. We're out of the dirt, but we have these dairy fields northwest of us. The wind direction comes this way and it howls, and boy, certain times when it's blowing, you can't even be outside with your eyes open. It's just so much dirt in the air. It's just something you have to live with. But I'm real happy that we decided to caulk the building, because that's in the future going to make it really easy to maintain. How am I doing, BJ?
He's gone.
Oh, he's took up. Okay. Well, I'm just going to keep on going here, and then I'll have a little question and answer period. And then we'll talk about what I plan to do for the displays. About the displays, once we break loose here, I'm going to give you an overall what my plan is on the display, and then I can actually walk around and answer questions about that too. While he's here, I know he can't be here very long, but the general manager of Plains of Fame walked up, Mark Foster.
Hey, if I can just take a minute. Thank you. I don't really have a speech to give, but I do want to say how excited Plains of Fame is to have the 475th Fighter Group here. Last night we brought the P-38 up. We've been moving a lot of airplanes because we have our big air show this weekend. We've been moving a lot of stuff around, and we had to move some airplanes to get it up here, and it was, it's always later than you think, and it's all of a sudden it's 8:30 at night, 9 o'clock at night, and we're going, we got to get the P-38 in the hangar. So we bring it up here, and there's just 3 of us, and it's kind of dark back here. We turn on the lights, and we pull this thing in here, and everything lit up. It was just so exciting to see this thing in here, and we are just so proud to have you guys involved with this facility. So thank you very much, and please give yourself a round of applause if you would. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I know you're busy,
Good
so
man.
those guys are really busy today. As soon as we're done here, they're gonna be right back here, grab onto this baby. There's her tow bar right there. Down, she's going down that way. They want to test fly it this afternoon. And he's their he's our general manager, and they just love us to death here, and we have a tremendous relationship with this museum. Okay, displays. Between this door and these doors is going to be our a monument type of a display. And what it's going to involve is I plan to have black granite slabs, 4 of them, one representing headquarters, and then one for every squadron, 431st, 432nd, 47th. And every name of every person that I can find will be etched in that granite stone. At the top of them, I'm going to take our insignias and have them done by an artist that I've already touched base with, who's going to do them in color on copper and then have enamel and then have it baked on. So we're going to have real nice shiny insignias there. The headquarters one will be a little short because there are fewer people in the headquarters. We'll list all of our commanding officers and the people that work with them. One of them's here, John Lacelle. His name will be there. And then there'll be a bit about, a very short thing about the history commemorating it. Now, if you have a chance to go outside this door, Chris Madison was doing some work on his, I don't know exactly what he's doing. Maybe he did it just for us, but there's a piece of cement out there that Tony LeVere wrote on, and it says, "To Pete Madison, in appreciation of the 475th Fighter Group, Tony LeVere, 1977. And Chris went and had that cut out of the color graphics floor and sent it to us. And so I said, well, I got a use for that. I don't know what yet. And he sent it over to Marchfield, and we kept it there for a while. But now that's going to be part of our monument here, because I'm going to have a kind of a bench seat. I'm going to work it in as part of that monument. And then we have the model in the back, our silver model. It'll be flying over the top of the monument here. So this is just to memorialize all of our guys. So 50 years, somebody can come and see their great-grandpa's name, and it should be on there. And then if it isn't, and we find people, I'm dealing with a company that'll come back. I'll give him maybe 5 names at a time, and he'll come back and etch more names on there as we find them. Every once in a while, Tinker hears from somebody. I hear from somebody. So that'll be kind of an ongoing thing. Then on the other side of the door, let me talk. We're going to have a state-of-the-art computer system here. And I've been talking with Ken Weaver about it. And my grandson, who's very computer-wise, is going to build it. But we're going to have approximately 7 computer kiosks here, touch screen computer screens. And the first one will be a thing that PJ is working out with Joe Kentz and Ken Weaver right now. Is going to be an introduction to our museum. So the people push there, it'll explain what we're about in our museum. That'll be right inside the door. Then going down the side of the wall will be built-in showcases. This time, I've decided not to have any outside glass showcases that can be moved, broken into, or little kids can run into and break and have accidents. What really gave me the idea about this was Planes of Fame, and if you have time, you should go down and see. They have a Navy display down here that they've completed, and you walk along a wall, and everything they display, it's called the Enterprise display, is behind a built-in glass case, but they make theirs look like portholes, and it's really sharp. But it gave me an idea. That's what we're going to do. We're going to build in all of our display cases into the wall. Double pane glass, insulate the case so it'll help steady the temperature. And we're going to have 6 sliding glass door type full mannequin size cases. And then I'm going to go down to using sliding glass doors. If you custom build a door, the cost goes way the heck up. But I can go to Home Depot and buy a sliding glass door, frame and all, for $300. So here again, the Planes of Fame have done this in their foreign aircraft building. If you walk around, turn the corner, they have their model collection, and there they have some of these sliding glass door displays like that, and it looks real sharp. And so we're going to follow their theme like that and have display cases like that. So I'm going to be using a 3 or 4 foot high double pane window casing, and they make them 6 feet long, so I can join them together for long showcases. So I'm going to start over on this side, and we're going to have an ACES display down to a certain point, and it's going to come 2 feet out from the wall with one of these showcases this way. Now, below the showcase is going to be something that you walk up to. PJ and I got this idea from the Smithsonian. If you've been to the Smithsonian, every time you walk up to read something, you're not looking at photographs like this. You look up here, and you look down there, and somebody's bending down and bending up. You walk, is my sound okay, Ken? You walk up to this thing, and it's at a slight angle like this, and it's glass covered, and all your pictures and everything are like that. So I'm going to build 21 of these, and Fox Olson's going to help me paint them. He's my painter, and some of those will be along the wall, and a whole bunch of those cases is what's going to protect the airplane from people walking in and fiddling inside of the wheel wells and stuff. So it'll go down along the side of this airplane, across the back of it. I'll talk about what's there, and then it'll go across the back and come back up front. And then we're going to stop them at a point at the plane of about here, and then we'll have a rope cordoned off situation like the big museum has. But when people want to take a snapshot, they can drop the rope, and do that old hand on the prop type of thing. But when they want to move the airplane, because we have this epoxy floor and I'll carpet the bottom of these stands, they can slide them away really easy to move the plane out. And then we'll have marks on the floor to put them back where they need to be. When the plane is out touring or visiting or everything, I've talked with Mark Monster, and so many of our guys flew other planes. They have a P-39 here, which the guys flew before they got into 38s. We can prop a P-39 in here and do some storytelling about that. They've got 3 or 4 Mustangs. We could put them. Our guys got into the Mustangs when they got out of the P-38s in Korea. And they have jets, and they have a bird dog here, which relates to PJ. We might put a bird dog in here. When this plane's gone, it won't be a big empty space. Plus, we've got our cockpit display, and also the trailer, which could go in the middle of that too. Now, Planes of Fame are going to dig out Allison engine for us on a stand, which we'll put in over in my crew chief section and stuff. And I haven't seen it lately, but they have it. They have one of our turbochargers, a P-38 turbocharger that's cut away like a pie section out of it, so you can look into the guts and see how the thing worked. And of course, that's a natural for here. So those will one will be on one side of the wing, and the cockpit will be underneath on the other side. And when you get past the wing, I'm going to come out 4 feet and then continue on down to the corner. And that's where I'll put the big mannequin cases. They'll be deeper, taller, higher, and I want to be able to get behind them and walk behind this whole area, because that's where I'll always be running the electricity, my computer station cables, because we're staging 7 computer kiosks all the way around. So, because if you only have one, everybody clogging one, and about 3 people can look at one time. So, and we have so much stuff. Well, look at all those boxes. They're full. And all those boxes are full, and that stuff, we just have so much stuff. And if I don't get it onto a computer base, and into a computer, all this stuff after I'm gone is going to be lost to storage. It'll be here, but nobody will know what it is or where, it'll just get lost to storage. So one of my goals is to get that stuff onto a computer program with a master cross-referencing file. Hey, Dave, help me out. What do you call that? Anyway, and my grandson's already designed it and built it. Ken's going to coach him on it to help expand it. But we're going to, in the very back where the McDonald area is going to be, McDonald Lindbergh area is going to be our master's catalog computer. And this is where you can go look up things. And so they'll walk up and they'll say, John Loisel, we'll have a touchscreen keyboard on there. And boom, up will come John Loisel. And it'll tell us where every picture that we've scanned and stored will be, any memorabilia, where he'll be in all the books. It'll be like going on to the internet and just typing in his name, and it'll be, and then from there you can go to these other areas and actually look for this picture, look for that thing, go over and look at his flight helmet or anything like that. And it can go and get Howard Max and then P.J. Dahl and Arthur Paraguay. And now how am I going to do this, you're wondering? Well, I can't do it myself in my lifetime. There's too much stuff. A lot of our inventory isn't here either. I got all the negatives, which there must be 5,000 black and white negatives are stored at our webmaster's house. Because I didn't want it in the heat, I wanted it in an air-conditioned house. Johnny Paraguay has got all the leather jackets hung up in her guest room closet. And Fox Olson has all the guns. We had to get the guns stored. And Ann's got a lot of stuff, and Warren Lewis's album and stamp collection, so it's not even all here yet, but if I bring it here, it's in the way. So I'm rambling here a little bit. Let me get back on track. I'm spinning around. The computer system. I went to my son's school, talked to his teacher, my grandson. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Dave. Archival program. There he is. Oh, I'm sorry. Stand in front of my grandson, he helped build this building too, but he also is shooting for a scholarship to MIT. He's a junior in high school. I went to his high school teacher. He goes to the Crystal Cathedral Academy, Robert Schuller's Crystal Cathedral Church. He's been going there ever since he's been a little kid, and it's a real neat school. They challenge him, and he's way out in front. But he said, well, Gramps, he says, I'd like to create an after-school project for school credit. He says, I can get me and a bunch of my buddies, and we'll all archive everything for you. And I said, well, you got a deal, pal. And so I talked to his teacher, and we're going to set that up his senior year. And those kids are so fast on a computer. They'll have the job done, and I'll just sit back and say, no, move this one over here, and didn't spell that name right, because I'm one of the few people that still can recognize what I'm looking at, and then I'll be able to say what I don't recognize. I can go out to you guys and say, does anybody recognize this one, this one, this one? And then if we got the Anderson albums to back us up with, and his pictures, his 8x10 pictures with all the captioning, but I'll get these kids to keep on searching and keep on revising, and by the end of a full school year, I think we'll have the job done. At least enough so that we can maintain it and add to it. And so that's job is very important, and one thing I'll be doing starting this next September. Okay, now on the displays, we'll have showcases down this way, another computer kiosk. When you hit the back two corners, I'm cutting off the back two corners with a 12-foot wall at 45 degrees. And then we're going to stop, and then I'll go in towards the back wall 3 feet, and that's just to give me a door. Now what this creates for me, some storage areas for storing my memorabilia to begin with and storing my building supplies and stuff on another side. But on those two 45-degree walls is going to be two flat-screen television sets. And off those flat-screen television sets, with this master computer that we're working with, we'll be able to set up where people can watch all the DVDs and that we've produced and the History Channel things and everything of interest. And there'll be a touchscreen monitor there with a little table of contents, and you want to watch this, you want to watch that, and people go up and touch this, and it'll come on, and I'm going to have 2 of them. The only thing is in this tin building, we got to work the sound out a little bit, but that's just a problem to overcome. And so even the long interviews that all of you did with Joe and Ken, we'll have a section for those. So if you have a relative that wants to see great-great-grandpa's interview, they come up and look him up and push the button, and we'll have his long story there. This is all real state-of-the-art stuff, and it's just it'll make this display here a real jewel to this museum. So then we're going to come up the other side with more showcases and everything. Then I'm going to cut back in where the wings are. And the reason I have to cut in is if this thing ever gets a flat tire or something leaks over here and this wing comes down, I don't want it landing on top of a wall and bending something up on the plane. So that's why we go in 2 feet. But then over here is going to be our crew chief and airplane section about the ship. Okay, that covers the outside walls. Now, I told you what we're going to do all the way around here. I'm going to start on this side, like reading a book. We're going to start with our pictorial history that Pete Madison put together. We'll go right down from Australia all the way to the end with photographs, captioned photographs going this way. Then across the back, I'm sure a lot of you have met them here already. But David and Danny Hoxie, are you guys here to stand up? Well, there's one. Where's the other one? Well, he might be off looking for a box of stuff. He's back there at the kitchen. These guys' dad was a cook in the 432nd Fighter Squadron, and they have donated to this museum a honest-to-God World War II field kitchen, and soup to nuts. And if you look at these boxes back here, it starts off with that stove unit, and all those boxes are full of stuff. And I've been talking with them a long time, and we're going to create back there, especially for the school kids, to see how rough it was for you guys out there to eat. We're going to create a diorama of a kitchen and put mannequins on it, and so there'll be one representing his dad cooking, and then there'll be we're going to cut a 55-gallon drum in half, and there'll be the rinse water and the dishwater that they used to build a fire under. And out back in their boneyard, they have some Allison crates, and I'll take a side off of an Allison crate that says Allison engine, make that into a table, which they supplied me field manuals of how they used to do that. And so this will all go across there, and there'll be guys sitting at the table, looking at a can of Spam and all that kind of. It's going to be real cute, and it'll be a real good thing for their educational program here. And so that we're going to do that all the way across the back end of this airplane. Then we're coming up the other side, and when I come up the other side, it'll be all my pictures that everybody has sent me in bios on the guys by their squadron. 430 headquarters, 430 1st, 2nd, and 3rd will all come all the way up on that side. That's my basic vision for the displays here. I have some of the materials here before I kind of ran my batteries down. I had to stop for a little bit, but this over here is actually going to be our walls. Now, I could have used drywall. It's a little less expensive, but that is birch plywood. And the reason I chose to I used plywood in our last display at Marchfield is it paints really well. And you can take it down and move it if you ever had to move it, which I hope we never have to do that. But I can immediately start painting on that when I put that up. And I have a system of running a router down the long seam, 45-degree router to give it a detail. Then I spline the edge, and I put a piece of 1/8-inch plywood on the edge and join the two together. That keeps them lined up. Then you can run a screw, which I'm using steel studs, from the backside into the plywood. Now I don't have any screws to glaze. Now drywall, you have to glaze the screws. You got to tape the joints. You got to mud it 3 or 4 times. You sand it. The white dust is all over the place. Very labor intensive. Well, when I get this wall up, I immediately start painting. And so all the plywood for that is right there. Then you'll see a stack of wood over here. That's called melamine. It's a product that cabinet makers use. And it's 3/4-inch particle board, but it has a Formica face on one side, white Formica face. So when I build my display cabinets, that's all the material I need there, it'll all be this melamine. So guess what? I don't have to go in there with a brush and try to paint into corners or anything and do 2 or 3 coats. It's done. So we're using that kind of wood. Then over there on the side, we bought all of our molding to mold this whole thing out. It's over there on those sawhorses. And that's my painter's job right here. He's good at painting mold. And Fox helped me a lot on the old museum. I'm counting on him to help me a lot on this one. And Ann and Bob and the whole crew. Once we get started on the displays, we have a kind of weekly work parties, and we come out here and pick a project and caption everything and complete it. And, yeah, it's just going to be a lot bigger and longer this time, but it's a lot of fun doing that. That's the fun part. Okay, have I talked enough? I think so. Okay.
I don't have to tell you how valuable this guy is to put this place together. And he was ill, and Bobby, his wife, has to get on him all the time to get him to stop working for a week or so, and and then he gets back on the job, and she has to grab him again to get him to back off. And without Lee, this couldn't get done. I know you guys know that, but we can't say it enough. Now, before we fold and get on the buses and everything, I asked Mark, the general manager, to open up this jet hangar. The one reason I like you to just go walk through it. Now, you can do all this tomorrow too, but it's not crowded now, and all these facilities are open. So I'm going to recommend, number one, when you go through this thing, you will see what Lee's talking about when Ed, who's the founder of Chino, he has a lot of his model airplanes behind the cabinets in there. But you'll see what he's talking about with how he's going to do it here. And we decided we're going first class with this thing. If we don't have the money to go first class we'll come out and you'll give us some more money. But I think we're in good shape to do this thing right. Lee had to hand build a bunch of cabinets over there at the March Museum. He's going to do these all. He's going to stainless steel, and you'll get an idea if you go through that place over there. So praise the Lord, we got Lee still on board, and he's got about 2 years of work to do here, and he's as good as Pete recruiting people to work for him. He's got all his kids and his grandkids, and he's got Ox and Fox, no, not Ox, but Fox is really working a lot. And of course, Ann is right here, and she and Bob are a good safety line for him. You know, he can go there and get some help. So he's got a lot of help, and he knows how to put people to work, I'll tell you that. So without any further ado, let's hold this thing up.